record on this. There we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. This is River and Anansi, and we're going to talk about something, maybe about creativity. And we're just gonna vibe with it and see how it goes.
It's been a year. Almost
Since
exactly a
Has
year
it?
since the
our
last time.
last
Yeah.
conversation. The last time we
Oh my
talked, when
God.
we were talking about just like imaginal stuff, right? Like I left that conversation buzzing. I was like, oh my God. Like if it didn't last, but it felt
Yeah, it was a good energy.
fired up by something. I was like quite nice. Now I'm fired up by a lot of different things. I am fired up by many different things right now. Like what's on my mind is girls. So like
Girls rock.
as long as we're sharing what's on our minds, what's on my mind right now is girls. I'm just like, oh my God, girls are just so good. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it is
I cannot
springtime in Albania here.
springtime.
And it's just every time me and my girlfriend go out walking, we're just like stopped dead in our tracks by the women here. We're just like, how are you that? Like, look at you.
That's
God
nice.
bless you.
That's nice. I've just been kind of like, I guess I've been too shy to do this before, but I've just been kind of voraciously following women on Twitter. So I'm like, yeah, you seem interesting and we're cute. And they're just so good. I just love it. They're like so fucking unhinged. And I'm like, yes, this is what I want more of in my fucking life. Is these unhinged women tweeting about their relationship to like goddess energy and shit. I'm like, yes, this is exactly what I was saying. This is the good shit. There's something I want to tie this back to creativity because for me, there's something about like if I feel like admired or cherished or supported by women, then I'm like full of energy. I'm like, this, I can do anything. That's like a source of power for me. Yeah.
Weirdly, what comes up in response to that is like, I don't have any like girls I'm doing stuff with. But I have something weirder going on where like
Oh.
I keep being visited by like the fucking witch goddess Hecate.
Oh yeah.
I had a dream 2 nights ago where like she like gave me head and she had like 3 boobs and her belt and like she was covered in these
She
like
would,
blue
yeah.
scales and stuff. It was so weird. And like that day, like I did some creating. It was wild.
Yeah, that's what's up.
I'm curious, have you like talked to her much outside of that?
I really don't.
It's not that kind of right.
Okay. There's a weird thing I've heard with like Hecate shit where like I don't know, I've heard multiple times of people like coming to her or her coming to them, visiting them and like giving them particular tasks and stuff and like communicating fairly clearly like you're not one of my people. Like I've got my devotees and like the people who belong to me as a goddess basically. But you like I just need you to do some shit. Like here's the blueprints, here's the diagram, get this done.
Really?
Wow. Yeah, I've heard this like 3 or 4 separate times from people. It's like, all right, so she just likes to outsource some stuff. She just shows up. She's the one who bit you a while ago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so curious about this. This is like not exactly the kind of shit I experience, but I do kind of feel like one of the things I'm really drawn to in women is any kind of like a spark of divinity, and that can show up in a lot of different ways. That could show up in like a million different ways, but anytime I get some kind of like like there was this one woman who was telling me, we were having a conversation about sex and it was like, what is sex? And she said something like, sex is a conversation between your body and their body and God. I was like, yeah, it's nice. It's nice, you know. I can agree with that.
It's like dancing too.
Yeah.
I love that spark of divinity. That's always the thing that always drives me the most crazy in a woman.
Yeah.
Is like when I can feel that off of them. It was just like, oh shit. There was someone I met here who I like just instantly would just like, it turned out she was into partner dancing too and everything. And like eventually I finally let myself like talk to her exactly how I wanted to talk to her. Like
And
I let myself put my hands on her.
yeah, it was
Like we had a conversation about like what it meant for her to be like this, to be so filled with this femininity that was like driving me like viscerally like insane. And I was just like, we had such a beautiful conversation about it. And I was just like, yeah, I live for that.
that sounds good.
Mm.
That's nice. That's nice. That's nice right there. River, I'm curious now that we're on this topic, like whether you get a lot of like feminine or divine feminine stuff in your imaginal dream experiences. I've heard you talk about the bison. That's like kind of a masculine figure.
Yeah, he's my guy. He's the main fella that hangs around. I don't know. It comes and goes, and like
Mm.
it seems like it's always waves. You know, the biggest waves though are definitely always like masculine ones. Like I had, I don't know, the old man archetype, whoever it was, just kept showing up again and again for like
I
6 8
totally
months
see
around
that.
my Saturn return. Yeah, until I was finally just like, cool, I get it, fine. I understand. But one thing that does come up is yeah, I think I've mentioned this a couple times before. There was a Twitter account that I used as an alt for a while, Nibiru Dakini, where it was just like me doing a bunch of Jungian anima work and
Oh yeah.
stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and it was really good because I just went completely free, like, okay, I'm just like posting as a woman, as just like pure feminine energy, all of it out there right now. And what it ended up being was like I talked about a bunch of shit on there that I didn't feel, not like safe, but like it just didn't feel right talking about on main. There was some block around talking about it.
Yeah.
And then 6 months later, like after I'd gotten it all out on the alt, it was the same shit that I was then talking about on main. Like, this is all fine to
Yeah.
talk about. And I'm just
Hey,
integrating it all into the main thing.
that's
And yeah,
nice.
Twitter alts are powerful. It's great
Yes, they
for
are.
just, you just kind of say all your shit and then it's suddenly fine to just say all that shit, you know?
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she like took on a life of her own for sure. There would be like intrusive tweets would come to me where I'm just like hanging around in the living room, like, all right, doing the thing. And then suddenly she's like, no, go tweet this, go do this thing. Cool. All right.
um, I also had this kind of anima experience where like this female figure showed up while I was on acid and mushrooms. Who was just like the first time she showed up, she was just this like powerful female demon who started just like completely tearing me apart emotionally. She just like pointed out all of my flaws and said some really hard shit to me. She said at some point something like, "You're just a bag of demons where a person should be," and I was like, "Fucking God!"
So
completely
badass.
yeah, it was completely tearing me apart. It was like if you think of the spirit of mushrooms as being this like earth mother, and like the fact that I was on acid and mushrooms somehow like take the earth
Ooh,
mother and then dunk her in a vat of acid, and then like that she was what came.
yeah.
That was what it
Ooh.
felt like. But and I was did not understand how to relate to her. I was like, somehow I feel like I am supposed to love this woman or something, but I did not. I didn't get it. It was like very confusing. I asked some people on Twitter for help, and I'm trying to remember what happened. One of them said something like I said something. I said like, "Oh, she's like saying all this crazy shit, and she's like doing all this stuff," and one woman that I was asking for help was like, "Sounds like she really wants to get your attention. Like she's doing all this stuff to get your attention." I was like, "Oh, my attention, is that what she wants?" So I like shut off the laptop and I was just like, "I'm scared, scared of talking to you." And I want to, and I don't know how. And she said something like, "We do this my way or not at all." And something about the way that hit me, I really don't know how to describe this part, but like, it was like there was a, it was like there was like a cold, dark window inside of me somewhere, like I was looking out and it was like rainy and there was lightning and shit outside. And I was like looking out this window and it was like rectangular and kind of like trapping me inside of it or something. This I really don't know how to describe this. And then something about trying to let her in, like the window cracked and then everything became very warm. Like somehow all of the edges got like blurred into warmth, and like my heart opened and I just cried a lot. And that was when I met my animal. And later I gave her a Twitter account and she tweeted a bunch of stuff.
Right,
Also
Harley.
stuff that I did. Yeah, Harley. That was Harley.
Okay.
She tweeted a bunch of stuff that I did not feel like I could tweet. Like she said some shit like God works in mysterious ways, and sometimes those ways are through me. And I was like, damn, girl, girl, you're gonna scare the house.
That's beautiful.
She said a lot of shit. And I also feel like this was a while ago, but I also feel like this sense of like slowly integrating all of the energy that she was bringing that I didn't feel like she was bringing. Like I didn't feel like I could bring, like getting gradually more unhinged over the years.
Yeah. This whole like area of shit, like I don't know why. Internally my like name for the full area is just deity yoga. This like other beings and other energies, other like anchors of some sort that kind of show up and you just hold them and let them move and do what they're going to do, and you lean into them and give them your attention, give them whatever it is they're needing from you.
Yeah.
It seems like the most aggressively overpowered like inner thing that we have available.
Yeah.
And I'm always shocked at how overpowered it is. Like it's been years at this point, and still every time it like knocks something loose with no effort, I'm just like, right, why am I not always doing this? And B, like, I don't know, even just like the really not watered down, not rationalist, not like the really more mainstream, like cut down specific point at this one's like the ideal parent figure protocol stuff, where it's like this is specifically aimed at attachment trauma and whatever. Over and over again, people, come to me saying just like, oh yeah, I tried out this ideal parent figure stuff. Have you seen this? That has done shit to me in like 2 months that other things did not in years.
Yeah, it's fucking nuts.
I don't know how it works so goddamn well, and why we're not constantly, I guess we're not constantly doing it because it feels crazy to call on a person to talk to who's not there to interact with. But if we can get over that culturally, we heal our culture in 10 years. If we can get over that one
it does
thing.
feel a little, what's coming up right now is like, actually, maybe I should let know. I feel like I've been talking too much.
I mean, I got a lot to say about all that stuff. I mean, I've had a relationship. Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've always had like a relationship with the gods, I feel like. And my first thing about all that deity yoga type stuff is just like I let them come to me. I don't really like to seek them out. They usually come to me if they have something. Like Anansi came to me 13 months ago. It was no, way longer. But I started going by that name, and then I started making all this fucking art and going crazy, and ended up shortly after talking to you guys setting out into the world and all this crazy.
Oh shit.
This stuff is crazy powerful. This is the most powerful. It's like devotion is. Man, I don't actually know what to say about this shit. I guess the first thing with the ideal parent protocol stuff, the closest thing I have to that is like I started talking to Jesus a lot more. It actually started because of Nina Colada. She was like, she does this practice where she was just like got in the habit of just like in meditation, like just calling out for help, like finding out like what spirit guides are there and want to come help. And like I started doing that, and first I got Odin, which led to me starting to write all the runes. And then when I was trying to figure out how to get to Lisbon, Jesus came to me and just told me to give him all my suffering and fear about it. And then most recently, I think a month ago, it might have been a few weeks ago, I asked again, and it was Hakati who showed up and bit me and then gave me some firehead this week. It's like all this stuff is just waiting for people to knock. I don't know. It's just like, yeah, they're just waiting to be let in. That's how I feel about it. It's just like, and like eventually everybody reaches a point where they're like, okay, I'm willing to open myself up to like all these deities that are just here all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was talking to
the main
I was talking to a therapist that I met at this retreat that I was just at, who does stuff with this thing called the comprehensive resource model, which is supposed to be this like really, really thorough form of like deep therapy transformation stuff. And there's a step in their thing that involves like calling on, I forget the exact wording she used, but it was something like the specific invocation was like, who is waiting to come in to help?
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's fucking good. Who's waiting? Like, that's a rich question. That's another one. I feel like I could dance to that.
I'm curious, what's the answer you got to that, like right now?
Right now, I don't know, man.
Oh,
This still scares me. This stuff still scares me a lot. Like, I don't, yeah, it still scares.
I can't hold that against you.
Like I've had this
can't.
experience with
Yeah.
Carly, and I've done stuff on with Ideal Mother stuff. Like, yeah, it was always very clear for me that Ideal Mother stuff was really kind of goddess stuff. It's like I always treated her as a goddess and sort of invoked her as a goddess. And like I gave her straight up magic powers. Like one of the first things I did with the Ideal Mother was like I was so violently angry at her. It was something like, how dare you love me? Or like, how dare you like pretend like you could possibly love me? And so it felt to me like the only way forward was to like indulge some really violent fantasies. So I just like, I imagined just like hitting her, like knocking her head off with a fucking hammer and shit like that. And then she magically reformed and was like, okay. And then I did it again and she was like, okay. And I just kept doing it until I felt accepted.
I get that.
Yeah. And then I was like, okay, thank you for accepting me. And I had to do a bunch of other weird shit like that. Just a lot of really fucking weird fantasies. And every time I was just like, okay, I think I just need to feel accepted in whatever the fuck this is.
Yeah.
Roll with it.
That's the trick to everything. It's just like letting that was something I think I already knew I wanted to talk about today. It was like something I've been experiencing like in my flow of life of just like letting processes finish, letting emotions finish, letting these things that want to happen through us like reach the end. Like I used to, like speaking of what you just said, QC, I used to have this place, this imaginal space I called Dark Forest. And that was where I just let myself be a demon. I just let like all my worst, all my hatred, all my anger, just like I would let it play out. Like just violence, war, sexual crime, like just wow, that's heavy to say. Just I would just let it play out. I would just let it play out, and I was just like, okay, like this is here.
Yeah.
Okay, show yourself. Like let's just do it in here at least. And eventually, I got enough, and the whole place burned down. It was fucking crazy.
Oh, this is nice.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's just like that's my experience. It's just like, especially lately, it was just like I just have to let stuff finish. I have to let myself feel the pain. I have to let myself feel the thing until like it's done.
Yeah. That was a lot to go on around that. IFS stuff never did much of anything for me until I like let it just bleed back into imaginal magic stuff, basically. Yeah. And the flip where that happened to me was there's a prompt I really like of like, what does the situation want right now? Like, what does the atmosphere want to happen? And when I finally plugged that into IFS of like, oh yeah, there's these 2 or 3 parts present, but like, I don't know, this relationship and way of talking to them is dry. It's not really doing anything. And then I just got sick of it and like kind of zoomed out and like, all right, fuck it. What does this situation want? And suddenly it was very clear, like, oh no, that's the level where everything needs to be taking place at. The situation has a whole lot of stuff that wants to be going on that is very much not dry and not like this tamped down level. And then it got real weird from there. But it was good. It was great.
Hell yeah.
Yes, it does.
I feel like I spooked my IFS guide in. I did a session in Berlin with someone. And I got the feeling midway through it because I was bringing a lot of my imaginal shit to it, where I was like, you know, moving my body and like groaning and making noises, yanking on the carpets and just like exerting myself on shit.
Yeah.
And they seemed to like keep pausing and like, okay, so what are you feeling now? And I was like, I was in it by that point. So I was like, I'm doing this. This is happening.
Doing my thing.
Deal with it. You're going to have far weirder people than me if this is the thing you're going to be doing.
I have noticed that there seems to, for me, there came to be a point where focusing on the question, what am I feeling, came to feel like beside the point, or it was like, yeah, operating at the wrong level, or just like the answer just couldn't easily be like boiled down to an emotion or something. Like I was just feeling things more complex than emotions, and yeah, it seems like the imaginal stuff and dream work and stuff are just the natural vehicles for this sort of thing. Like I have been having more violent dreams lately. I had a dream a couple of days ago where like I kidnapped one of my ex-girlfriends and I like forced her into a VR game with me. It's like, wow, I don't think I've ever been like aggressive towards a woman in my dreams before. So that was like, okay, this is probably some shit that I gotta fuck it. It's time to deal with whatever the fuck this is. But it's just like, I love that when I dream about stuff, like I don't have to make any fucking decisions. Like,
yeah,
the dream just happens and then some shit goes down. And I'm just like, okay, that was good. And like, I've been really trying to like ask something like, what if I didn't have to fucking do anything in my practice? That's been like rich.
Yes, the fucking Jack Nicholson me, like, yes.
I mean, yeah, what Anansi just said, what'd you say a minute ago? Like, they come to you, like waiting for what is already coming in, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
That's one reason I'm like so goddamn bullish on dream practice, is like, it's all already right there. If you just take light effort to like start dream journaling and remembering slightly more, the stuff is already coming to you all the time, wanting to be worked with, wanting to be sorted out. It's right there. You don't have to do anything extra. Just remember it a little more and then work with it from there.
Yeah.
Just listen. Yeah.
Like
this.
I think.
Oh, go for it.
Oh yeah, just the thing that brings up for me right now, something I experienced in my creative practice lately. It's like it's beyond the dream work stuff too. Like I mean, in every moment, like life, spirit, imagination, God, whatever you want to call it, is always trying to say something. And like for me, one thing that was running to is like I got a big commission to do an art project. I was struggling to get anything done with it until like I started listening to like, all right, what actually wants to happen? Well, actually, what happened was, first I wanted to take 2 weeks to just watch Star Wars and lay around and not do anything. And then after I did that, I was just like, all right, are we ready to do this project? And it was just like, no. And then I started seeing very clearly like the clothing stuff, and I was just like, but I need to do it. It was just like, but it was just showing me this, and so I did it. And then as soon as I did that, immediately like created the fucking animation I need to do, like start doing the coding stuff. And it's just like always the shit is always like we're always getting prompted, and it's like, here's what you need to do next. Are you gonna listen?
Yeah.
Yeah, that used to happen to me all the time when I was like 10, 15 years of my life. I was just writing constantly, like hours a day, writing stories, novels, on and on. Then I quit for the solid like past 10 years, basically. And now I've been picking it up the past few months, and that's been my past few days. It's just like it just keeps coming at me. And yeah, I just tweeted about it before this, the like realization of like, oh god, there's like a whole epic in here that like I have a duty to now. And I should have cut this off a minute ago, because now I got too many tasks to go on. But it's fine. Just let it keep coming through. It'll be good.
I am very stoked for what it feels to me like this whole, what's it called, like a season of creativity that seems to be happening on Twitter. Like everyone is moving on projects right now, and I'm just like, yes, it's like the Jack Nicholson, like more of this. Like I'm loving the collective energy. It's very nice. Yeah, I'm finding that like I think I can kind of get into flows like this, but it requires me to take kind of annoyingly good care of myself. Like, I'll slow down and listen to like what really wants to happen right now. It'll just be some dumb shit like I need to go to the fucking bathroom or I need to eat breakfast.
It's all the same process though. That's just the whole game. That's the entire thing.
That's the whole game. Yeah. No, I feel you. But it was like, oh, I gotta fucking take care of myself now. Okay.
Yeah, I'm in the very overwhelmed stage of this, where there's just everything has poured in. I'm like, I've got a backlog. Stop giving me new stuff. No, you're just gonna keep giving me new. All right, fine. I'll work with it, but uh,
I think my favorite place to do this so far, like my favorite place to kind of listen, is in church. Maybe actually, I was going to a church in Seattle, and just it was gorgeous. It's a gorgeous fucking Roman Catholic church, and being in that church just really filled me with a sense of like, oh shit, like people really built this. Like some motherfuckers, it's like 100 years old. Like some motherfuckers 100 years old built this church. 100 years ago, they built this church because they like gave a shit about something. They were devoted to something, and you can feel the devotion and how beautiful the church is. And that was like very inspiring. It's a great place to just contemplate and get ideas. I got an idea for like a fucking crazy science fiction short story, which I still haven't finished because it's of time. Like, it's gonna be good. I'm gonna enjoy finishing it. But like, yeah, I just want to spend more time in churches, man. It's pretty fucking good.
That was something I was doing a lot of here when I got to SF. There was this church called St. Mary's of the Assurance or something like that. And I just like had this urge to just go in. I would just go in there, and it was always really quick. I would feel drawn to the place. I go in and sit down in the pew. 20 to 40 minutes would pass. I would get some very clear download or very clear feeling, and then it would be like, okay, get up, get the fuck out. Like, go.
Nice.
I was never there for longer than like 40 minutes, but like I would get all sorts of downloads or go on imaginal journeys. It's like, yeah, like, it was quiet. It was still. It was like perfect to listen.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Mine are mostly nature and weirdly, yeah, Albania is like mostly a Muslim place.
Oh.
And like we'll have prayer calls a few times a day. And yeah, like the evening muezzin call kind of like sparks a thing for me fairly often. It's like, right, yeah, sing out your shit, chant out your stuff.
Nice.
Cool, that's a
Be
zone.
in that.
Like we're all in that zone now. Yeah.
I want to experience that. That's awesome. I've always wanted to have that experience of being somewhere where like they're having all the prayer calls and like doing it 5 times a day. That's sick. God damn, I gotta make it there.
Yeah, it's nice. Although it is, yeah, it's been Ramadan the past month. I think it just ended or whatever. And they are loud at night here. Like they're all getting together, blasting music. One place was doing construction at 2 in the morning the other night, which I don't think is related. They're just dicks. But yeah, I think last night it ended because there were fireworks for like 40 straight minutes from different quarters of town. Outside of that, lovely, contemplative, nice. Just the Ramadan's been a little rough.
That sounds nice. Yeah.
Mm.
In nature, I think for me, it's being by water specifically that really does it for me.
Yeah.
Like getting to stare at water. There's a couple places where if I sort of go out onto the pier enough, I can feel completely surrounded by the water, and then just stare at it and just vibe with the water.
Yeah.
Yes, fucking, and just try to like. There's something funny it does to my vision to try to like perceive everything that's happening as much as I can, and also like to sort of like there's waves, and then there's like little waves on the waves, and trying to sort of like feel every scale of the waves at the same time, and then also kind of giving up on that because it's too complicated. Like both of those are very satisfying in different ways.
Yeah.
Water's fucking great.
Since I was like 14, there's a sentence that's just recurred to me again and again that like moving water is a passage of the divine into this world. And that's just what it is, man.
Yeah.
The river Styx, the Sans what is it, the Japanese, the Sanzo River or whatever, like all those moving bodies. There's like the 3 rivers in Greek mythology, actually. Like, yeah, it's all that shit.
There's tons of rivers.
Oh, there's a ton, yeah. Fuji in Chinese mythology, like got the 8 trigrams from some river horse. Jesus had like the Holy Spirit descend on him in the Jordan. Ezekiel's had his vision at the River Kebar. Tons of them. They're all over the place.
I just realized we're talking to a dude named River right now.
Yeah.
I chose that name, to be fair.
Yeah.
My real name means river, so I just like literalized it.
My name,
like my birth name just means river in a different thing. I
Yeah.
just literalized down to, yeah, just call me River. It's cool.
My name kind of means tree, incidentally.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a reference to it's a snippet of like an ancient Chinese poem. And the way my parents explain it to me is it's sort of this poetic image, and the poetic image is like there's all these trees in the forest, but they've been like blown down by a strong wind or something. And I'm like the only tree left standing. And it means like number one, outstanding. I got a big dick, is what I'm trying to say. It means I got a
There
big
we go.
But it's such a funny, like, yeah, it's just a funny name to reflect on. Like, yeah, okay, I could be a tree. I could be a big ass tree. That could be good.
Yeah.
Trees need water. I could
I
try
don't
what
remember what your name means, Anansi. What does yours mean?
Anansi? I mean, this means spider.
No, like
Oh, Matthew.
Matthew. Yeah.
Matthew, that's
I
God's
wasn't sure if you
gift.
wanted to give it here.
No, no, no,
God's
I'm not
gift.
anonymous.
Okay.
It's like, yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's God's gift.
God's gift.
I think it reflects my immense arrogance and confidence.
There we go. I think my last name means God's grace. So we're close there.
Nice.
What's coming up right now is just the, as far as like guide shit goes, like Anansi's clearly got Spider. I've got a bison that's always hanging around. You got anything, QC?
I don't know. I mean, so I have been trying just daydreaming a lot more. Like like a year ago, my main practice was kind of like sitting down and trying to do a bunch of self therapy. Like, okay, now I'm gonna like name my feelings, and okay, now I'm gonna like do some other shit or whatever. And now my main practice is I just lie down and I just wait until I stop controlling my thoughts. And then I drift off and just some random shit happens. So that's been happening. I've been doing that when I get a chance to just be with myself. And it's been good, but there haven't been clear, consistent patterns. Like I get the sense that there's just like a lot of stuff that needs to. I have like I just feel like I have a huge backlog. I just need to like go through it slowly.
Right. Are you still like cartoon streaming image wise?
That's stabilized, I think. I think that again was kind of just like a backlog of like stuff to get through. It does feel more like I feel more connected to the way that a lot of my kind of like my imaginal landscape was seeded by television. Like I just watched a shit ton of television. So there's just like a ton of that in there. And I'm like a year ago, I was embarrassed by this. I was like, oh no, I'm like some basic bitch who's just made up of cartoons. But I'm just like, fuck it. Like cartoons were good. It's not a problem. And like, yeah, like I think talking to you and Anansi really helped me like own that. Just like, yeah, fuck, I fucking love Dragon Ball Z. Like Super Saiyans are the shit. And like, and they're important to me, like important to me in my imaginal landscape. And I'm just gonna own that. And so that's like some bullshit that I've been on, just reflecting on stuff that really like charged me up when I was a teenager and just being in touch with all that stuff. Like I fucking okay, this is a different example from TV, but like I was at a party in Austin and there was a keyboard there and we were playing some music and it was nice. And I like someone requested Mr. Brightside by the Killers. And I was like, oh hell yeah, I could play the shit out of Mr. Brightside. And I just like went for it. I just like embodied the like coming out of my cage and it felt so fucking good. And I could feel the energy of the whole room change. Like when you really play the shit out of that song to millennials, you just like take everyone back to when they were 14. Just immediately. Just like, I remember what it was like to be like, can see where it takes into this. Just that sense of yearning. Just like I love being able to take a group of people just back to when they were 14. That's like fucking good as hell right there. I've been reading
one of my
also music.
No, it just reminds me that my go-to song in Korea, the noraebangs, like the karaoke rooms. Go-to was Welcome to the Black Parade by My Chemical Romance.
Oh yeah.
Exact same thing. Every time it starts up, like every millennial in the room just crowds in. When I was A young boy.
Yeah,
every time.
we had an amazing conversation about MCR on Twitter last 2 weeks. I forget, like 2 weeks ago or something, where we were just like talking about our talking about MCR tracks that we liked, and it was everyone was just like, yeah, fucking, I'm not okay, Helena, all just vibing. It's a nice energy.
I gotta re-listen to them, man.
There's like a lot of fucking powerful energy in those teenage songs. Like I kept one of the reasons I got onto this bullshit is like when I was doing a lot of more self-therapy kind of practice, one of the things I kept noticing is that sometimes a song lyric would come up. Like sometimes I would be searching for words and a song lyric would come up, and then I would try singing the song, and then that would move something. I was like, oh shit, like that actually like the internal jukebox is like shockingly well calibrated and can actually just like show me exactly the song that I need in a given moment. And I'm very like, I really like that direction as like a place. It would be very cool for me to somehow like learn how to do that even better. I feel like I need more songs. I feel like I have this whole database of songs, and I feel like I need just even more songs than that, so I can really like match like literally any mood that I'm feeling or that someone else is feeling. That would be fucking amazing if I could like DJ like a set for someone else's processing or some shit. That would be something about that would be like very fucking cool.
I really want that for you. Just keep following that thread, please.
Following it, man. It's like, oh, like I thought connecting to the divine was like hard, but when I sing, it's like fucking easy. Like just like, oh, this is where it is. Yeah. I got you. Like, fuck. All right, sure.
That's his fucking angel power. That's his fucking like.
And I somehow just forgot about it. I just forgot. I was like, oh, I had this like flaming sword the whole time that I just kind of forgot about for a couple of years.
Yeah. Potentially helpful. That's part of my like dream journaling practice. Is anytime I wake up and there's a song that's kind of in my head for the morning, that goes in the dream journal. Like, all right, for whatever reason, it's this one today. This card ad jingle from when I was 16 living in Saginaw. That's the one we get today.
Yeah, I get this. I get this.
It seems weirdly helpful and prescient a lot of the time.
It helps, interestingly, like there's, for me, I think there's something funny about like if you listen to too much music during the day, it kind of like interferes with the process a little bit. Like you almost need to listen to less music, or like no.
Fascinating.
I listen to very little music now, partly so that when I wake up and there's a song in my head, I'm like, that's not because I listened to it recently. It's because it's like something. It like clears the.
Yeah, that's interesting. I listen to like remarkably little music just as a person. Like I'm a far outlier on the I do not listen to music spectrum. I took a full year off of music when I was like 17 or something. And it like precisely for that, I was like, yeah, I just don't want other people's thoughts rattling around in my head. So I'm going to take a year off and cleanse. But yeah, like my Apple Music rap for 2020 or 2022 or something, like the number 3 song was one that I had listened to like twice or something. And yeah, that might be part of why they're so like generally clear and prescient for me, is because I'm not throwing in a lot of interference day to day with just extra songs.
I'm embarrassed. I'm like pretty like I'm better about it than I used to be, but I'm pretty much like constantly listening to music. It's like there'll be something I'm very specifically trying to, not even trying to, just like wanting to embody at any given time, and then I'll just naturally just be drawn to just be listening to that all the time. Like right now, I'm listening to like a lot of funk right now again, like because I'm just like feeling groovy again. So I just want to have it come through and just like come off of me. I'm just like, I'm feeling groovy. Let's be groovy.
Yeah. Like I don't think that's a problem, to be clear. Like it's an amazing gift. Like I'm in this mood right now, and I can probably find a song somewhere that fits that mood. Like that's crazy that we get to do that.
Yeah, but I agree with all of that, because I just like something I have been better about doing now, especially now that I listen to my is like turning off music as soon as I'm just doing this mindlessly, not because I'm trying to like bring something in. I'm finally getting the hang of that.
Yeah, there's something funny about like I've been connecting to how good it feels to play music live, like for for my friends and shit, I'm just like, this is a totally different experience from like on either end, it's a totally different experience from like playing for myself or playing to record. And on the other end, it's like a totally different experience to listen to live music compared to listen to a recording because right, like with live music, there's like an energetic circuits. It's like I'm giving them energy, they're giving me energy, it's flowing. And with recorded music, there's no circuit. It's just you're just having an experience. I mean, it can be good still, but like the circuit though is fucking making that stank face. Oh, the circuit. Oh, it just feels so fucking good.
I love it when musicians make that face.
Like another thing I got to do at this retreat I was just at was I got to play for people while they were dancing. Like I played and sang like some dance tracks for people to dance to, and that felt really fucking good. I was playing some like Charlie Puth and shit, and people were just like doing West Coast swing to it. And I was like, this is fucking amazing. And afterwards, they were like, that was so fun. That was so cool. Because again, there's this energetic circuit. Like I can give them energy. I watch them, they give me energy. And then we just fucking vibe together with the fucking.
I'm legit envious of you right now. That sounds so fucking
Dude,
cool. Like I love that.
Like people, like if dancers who have only ever danced to like recorded music really have to dance to live music at least once because it's a different fucking experience. It's like fucking good as hell, man. Like the band gets to groove with the audience gets to groove with the band. It's like you just gotta make a lot of stank face to communicate.
Yeah, this is always fascinating to me because like I think I just have a very different relationship to music than most people, and I'm always like very interested and jealous in how the rest of y'all's system like absorb it or something. Like whenever I do psychedelics with people, for example, and they're like, hey, you throw on the music, pick it. I'm like, you don't want me to do that. I have learned from experience the stuff that is like tuned to my experience where I'm like, yeah, this will be that like nice calm intensity and then everyone else in the room is like, I'm having a fucking panic attack. Turn that shit off.
What kind of shit do you listen to that does that?
The one that comes to mind like immediately is that was back in Korea and stuff. I think it's Crawl by Childish Gambino. Do we know that one or no?
I do not, but
yeah.
I like a lot.
We were on acid and I threw that one on. I'm like, yeah, let's do this. And then they were just like, oh my God, no, something else, anything else.
Is it like a really intense song? Are there like intense lyrics and shit?
I just remember the beginning. There's like a lot of like heavily distorted, just. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah. And Stephanie's just like, we need something to smooth this out right now.
That's so hard. I fuck with that so fucking hard.
Yeah. But there have been a lot of like higher and lower versions of that where I've just kind of learned like, oh, my response to music is not people's response to music. Like people will look at my running playlist and just be like, how do you run to this? I'd fall asleep. Like, I don't know, man. It gets me going.
That's fascinating. Wow.
I'm delighted by that. I would love to trip with you sometime, River.
My tripping days may be behind me.
That's fair.
Yeah. Last time was October 24th, 2017. I wrote it over and over again in my journal as this is the last time. Do not come back here. Do not come back here.
Fair enough.
Like you kind of don't need it anymore. You just access it.
Like that one was just like a incredibly traumatic experience. It was by far the worst thing that has ever happened to me, like by a margin. But I do feel like I need to dip my toes back in or something, largely because if it is true that like dying is a psychedelic experience, I want to be okay with psychedelics by that point. So I need to dip back in bit by bit. But yeah, luckily the thought of it doesn't make me like clench up anymore. For about 2 or 3 years there, you say the word, like you just say the word acid to me and like I would start having light visuals and like the room would start spinning a bit.
Really? Oh wow.
Yeah.
I
And
am
now it's
so
down
good on
to
acid.
Yeah.
oh yeah. When
It
I was
isn't no
in
more.
Berlin, I went into Medley and someone was in there like tripping, just like, hey guys, just so you know, like I'm on a lot of acid right now. Like just kind of keep it flowy in here. And yeah, within like a couple minutes, the whole room was just like spinning and vibrating for me. I was like, I cannot be in your field right now because this shit does not like
Can
jive with me. Yeah.
can I tell a story? I was in fucking Lisbon, well, outside of Lisbon.
Mm-hmm.
You QC, you were there. Like the fucking everybody was tripping on acid in the house except for me.
Yeah.
And I had to get the fuck out.
Mm.
I was having a bad trip. I was sober and
Mm-hmm.
I was so overwhelmed. I had to get
Yeah.
the fuck out of there.
Oh shit.
Oh my god, dude. There was this thing that happened with this fucking doorknob where it was this moment where I realized, like, oh, the universe wants me to get out. It's like I'll never forget this shit. I like, I was trying to trip in and be helpful and stuff. I remember I was
Mm-hmm.
walking out the house and I just saw it happen. I just saw the doorknob fall off the door to my room. I was just walking by and it fell off. And I was just like, I'm not gonna do anything about that right now. Here's what happens next. I go outside and do things. I'm feeding people ham and shit. And I go back to try again the room, and the doorknob is gone. The doorknob is gone. And you
Mm-hmm.
cannot open the door without that doorknob.
Mm-hmm.
And it turns out someone who shall go unnamed was fascinated with the doorknob and ran off with it. And apparently, like, I don't know where I was. Apparently, that doorknob like went around the house and passed through some hands until like eventually, like, I was just like freaking out trying to get in. Someone's like glasses were in the room as well. And eventually, like, we got the doorknob back. I remember having to walk around, like, everybody's tripping on acid. I've been having this like intense time, just like
Mm-hmm.
freaking out. And I'm like walking around, being like, hey, like, this is my face, like me just trying to keep something like, have you seen a doorknob? And people be like, yes, actually. They're like, and like, that was the worst part. Is like, everyone was just like, yeah, I have seen a doorknob. Exactly what I was looking for until eventually, like, yeah, someone went and like, it's like, hey, we know where it is right now. We'll go get it for you.
I
Oh,
completely missed all of it. I was
My
like,
oh,
favorite part of that whole thing was just I'm going around feeding people ham and
ham and
shit.
shit.
Like that's just what you do when everyone's on acid. You feed people ham.
It was watermelon too, I think. That was pretty good.
Can you say more on the like I'm there sober having a bad trip? Like what was that experience like for you?
I felt very like out of sync. I'm like,
Mm.
I was already like in this like really sensitive place where I'm like creating all the time, and I felt like a very open channel,
Mm-hmm.
and like there's just this very strong acid vibe just running
Yeah.
throughout the whole property,
Right.
and it was just like my whole system was just like I will like walk out of the room and like everybody's naked. Like it was just like I was on a totally different page than everybody, and
Yeah.
I was just
Mm-hmm.
like that was really hard for me to deal with in that state
Yeah.
Yeah,
until
that's good to
eventually,
hear. The
yeah.
no, I've like people have looked at me like I'm crazy sometimes. And it's like, yeah, no, I can't really be in the field of like too many people doing psychedelics at this point because like you can feel it, like it's
Yeah.
in the
Yeah.
air.
It was a very
Yeah.
strong field.
Yeah.
I liked it personally. Like,
You were thriving. You were
I was
thriving.
having
You were like,
in my elements. I was in my elements. I
You
like
see us thriving and Anansi scrambling for the doorknob.
I will take this opportunity to humble brag a little or just brag, whatever. I helped a guy cry who hadn't cried in 18 years. And I'm just like,
Damn.
I
could
saw
take
that.
a moment to own. I was like, yeah, this is fucking like I just felt the fucking magic flow through me. I was like, I know exactly what this guy needs, and I just gave it to like usually I would have been like asking him stuff. I would have been like asking him to say stuff. I didn't ask him to say anything. I just like held him and I like told him a fairy tale. And that was
Mm.
what did it, like one that I kind of made up. and that was what did it. And I just like I said a lot of things. He didn't say anything, and then just fucking. And afterwards, he was like, "You said exactly what I needed to hear," and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of got that feeling." That's why I said it. So
I actually saw the moment that started.
I was having a good time, but yeah, it's hard. Like you want to. It's nice. It would be nice if everyone was having a good time, but sometimes it's hard. Sometimes it's hard.
We all have a journey we have to have.
Yeah. There's a topic I'm curious if we want to like angle towards here, just around like shared field stuff, where like,
ooh, yeah,
you can sense where some part of you senses what this guy needs and how it needs to happen for him. So you just hold him and tell him the story. Anansi's in a shared field that he needs to like get out of, and that field is doing trickster shit, taking the doorknob away from him. For me, like the clearest stuff is I feel like I've done something with either of you. Like Rosa Lewis's shared imaginal practice stuff. Yes, no, have practice.
Yeah,
I think I've done it once.
Have not? Okay. That one for me is like always the clearest thing of like, yeah, we're the people who are in pairs or triples for that are just very much in a shared field where like as one person's describing their imagery that's like unfolding for them, you can get it like a beat before them. You're like, yeah, I see that too. I know what you're about to say. Like, I feel that. I know what's dropping in. And yeah, I'm just curious for like y'all's sense of the shared stuff, because it's one of those things that I like accept as fact but have no explanation for like operationalization of.
Yeah. I feel like I have like some hints, but I don't feel like I have a coherent kind of picture yet. There's one thing.
No, you go. You keep going.
I think one of the first things I got around this was so I used to be really into this thing called circling, which is kind of like this relational meditation practice. You like sit around a bunch of people, like you could say it's just like everyone talks about their feelings, but it's more like a group noting practice where everyone is trying to just say what's up in the moment, and then everyone kind of reacts to everyone else saying shit. And it can go really poorly if people get like super triggered or whatever, but like if things can get resolved, then there can kind of be this beautiful group flow sometimes. And I learned a bunch of stuff about attuning to groups through this practice. I learned to just like, wow, there's like sometimes you can just really tell when like you can get really clear experiences of like elephant in the room type stuff where there's just like some big thing happening and no one is talking about it, and then you can be like, I'm gonna fucking talk about this, and then you talk about it, and then you feel the energy of the room shift. Everyone is like, oh, now we can fucking talk about the thing that we couldn't talk about before. And like that kind of stuff was inspirational for me to be like, I know what that feels like now. I know what it feels like to like point out an elephant in a room and to feel the energy of the room shift. So there's stuff like that. And then there's also weirder stuff like one of the things they told us in circling, they were like, if you really want to try to there's this phrase they use called getting someone's world. Like we're trying to sort of understand what it's like to be the other people in the circle. And one of the things they say is like, you can sync up your body with someone else's body. You can kind of just like feel into their body with your body. And if you do that, you can kind of like just kind of feel what they're feeling. So if you're trying to get a read on somebody, you can be like, you can, be engaging them in some way, and then be like, oh, I like suddenly feeling this tension in my chest. Like, are you feeling a tension in your chest? Like, yeah, I'm like, yeah, I'm feeling a tension in my chest. I'd be like, it's just like there's some crazy shit that you can do. And at the time, this was black magic to me. I was like, what the fuck is this? I have no idea how this works. Now I'm just like, yeah, there's a thing you can do. I still don't really know how it works, but like, the fucking thing you can do.
I'm glad. I like that you brought up circling. Actually, I have a bunch of experiences with circling that like point at some weird shared field stuff. One is the pointing at the elephant in the room. This energetic knot in the field of a group, and untangling it, or just fucking cutting it. I had this moment. I was in this circle in LA like a year ago, and I remember sitting there. I was just so bored listening to everybody be so nice and polite. I was so bored, and I was just like, at some point, I finally just like, I don't know if someone pointed at me or I just fucking said it. I was just like, y'all, I am so bored right now. Like, y'all are being so fucking sweet and dull. And like the dude leading the circle looked at me, he was like, finally. And like, I don't remember what I did. And some girl started trying to coach me in that moment. I was just like, sister, I don't care. I was just like, I am not interested. And she got triggered. People
yeah.
in the room started getting triggered. Like,
Hey.
whole circle just split apart. It was amazing. I was
Yeah.
like totally owning like my desire to be the villain. I was like, I just want people to acknowledge that like I'm an asshole. It was like I wanted that so badly. I wanted so badly for people to just like let me be there. I remember someone pointing the finger at me and being like, "See, this is you coming back on your fucking village," and I was just like, "Yes!" And like people were giving me exactly what I wanted. I was just like so lit up and charged inside, just watching chaos, this energy of chaos explode through it. It was
the good shit.
It's gorgeous. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. My experiences with circling have mostly been like fairly mediocre. And the times when they've gone like really well and something like does start flowing and moving and going well is essentially when something like that happens and people like fuck with the circling container and they're like, this is fucked up, right? Like this is weird. Stop doing this. And then it actually like breaks and turns into something nice.
Exactly.
I remember,
I was gonna say, like, you can kind of feel a transition from when people are kind of holding their bodies kind of still and be like, yeah, that's a good point. I'm feeling connected to you right now. And then you say some real fucking shit. They're like, like it's super
one of the circling things in Berlin. It was at the retreat that me, Rosa, and David were running. Everyone was there, and it was all a lot of this type of I'm feeling very tense in my chest, and well, I'm feeling apprehensive, I guess. And yeah, I basically was just like, I'm feeling like I can't handle this tone of voice anymore. And then Rosa next to me just like slams down on the mat on the floor and starts like punching it and it's like, yes, done, done.
Oh,
I'm
so
like,
good.
okay, that released something. We're good. We're okay now. And things went better after that. I still am not like a huge fan of circling, but it definitely improved after that inflection point.
Has to be willing to point out bullshit. Like people get really confused. I think it's very easy to think that circling is about connection and to be like, oh, we should try to be nice to each other and connect. No, for me, circling has always been about truth. It's like, what the fuck is going on?
Acknowledging the shared field, acknowledging what's actually in the shared field.
That's when it really comes alive. Like, can we fucking talk about what's happening? So can we do that?
Yeah. I'm going to bitch about a thing for a second that is very related. But no, in that exact circling session, actually, several people across the circle were like, I'm feeling like I want more connection right now. Like I'm feeling like I want to be more intimate with all these whatever people, et cetera, et cetera. And I was just like, oh, that's really weird for me to hear because like I don't know any of you. Like I know 3 or 4 people here. They're great. I'm fine being like more intimate in a smaller closed off thing with them if we go that way. But like I don't know you people. I don't want to get that fucking close to you. And then some chick next to me started trying to like not quite coach me, but was basically just like, are you sure that's not like your own resistance to wanting to open up? And I was like, fuck you. but no, and then after the circling was done, a few people came in and were just like, yeah, that was really weird when those people were saying they wanted like more connection and intimacy. Like, I don't know these people. I'm like, why didn't you guys have my back in the circle?
Yeah, this is the
why
fucking
are you only
thing.
talking now?
Right, like people, like so many, like there are people who come to circling, and I did this to be clear. Like there are people who come to circling who are just fucking starved for connection. And it's like, there are actually better ways to get it than this. Like, circling is not a safe, reliable way to get connection if you're circling with people who know what they're doing. Because, like, yeah, like real connection comes from being real and being willing to be real. And if you have like too much, fucking inner child wounding or whatever to handle that, then like circling is not the thing for you. And you should go do something else, in my opinion. Yeah. But
y'all making me realize I'm being kind of a pussy on Twitter.
Yeah. Yeah.
How so? Just not pointing out truth or something like
Yeah,
that?
not pointing out boring shit or like,
Mm.
huh, do I care enough to do
Oh
so?
God, I can see the villain waking up in your eyes.
Like, it's a lot of shit I just don't say because I'm just like, do I want to? I,
Yeah.
that's a topic for another thing. Y'all just
Yeah.
making me like reflect on something.
No, I feel like that. Yeah, there's an element there of like, especially past a certain like follower threshold of just protecting your fucking energy of like, how much do I want to put up with the replies to
Right.
saying this shit?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was a valuable thing about getting to fuck around on Blue Sky. Like I couldn't do it because I was busy at the retreat after a while. But the first few days where I was fucking around on Blue Sky, I was like, oh man, there were like so many constraints I was operating under on Twitter that I just forgot about. So it's just like there were just so many things I was like, it's not worth trying to do any of this shit on Twitter because it's just too annoying.
Yep.
But on Blue Sky, I was like, oh, no rules. We can.
There's only like 300 people here. This is fine. I'm not standing in front of a stadium of 9,000 people.
You will
All
not
the
be under the fucking psychic attack equivalent of a fucking 10x Kaioken God Kamehameha.
Mhm. Yeah.
Although now it also feels to me like after being gone for a week, I'm like, I don't understand the vibe anymore. Like a whole bunch of stuff has happened that I don't know about.
Mm.
I have no idea what's going on in Blue Sky anymore. So I'm back on Twitter.
Yeah, I'm waiting for it to like ground a little more. It's very manic.
Yeah.
Mm.
But yeah, no, there is also
No, I'm curious. Let's be fucking real. What's in the shared field of whatever field that you guys want to acknowledge?
Mm.
What in the field do y'all, if we're talking, I don't know how to put this. I'm just like, what do y'all think there's not enough realness and aliveness in the shared field? Whatever you call the shared field, whatever context that you feel comfortable with. I'm just curious.
All right. First off, I'm not going to be able to answer this question until I go pee for a minute because, like, the main thing that I'm suppressing in the field is my intense need to pee. So I'll be back in 2 minutes.
Love that for you, King.
You mean the shared field right now or on Twitter or whatever,
Whichever field, you know?
Yeah.
I like that. I like that conversation. I like that, like, I hadn't thought about that moment in circling from a year ago until you just brought up circling. And I was just like, yeah, that was awesome.
Felt nice, right? Yeah. That's the real juice. I've been in the asshole in circles a lot and like been the person who had to kind of open it up. I specifically have said I'm bored a bunch. And also, I'm bored is kind of one of it's very fun to say in circles. Also, I don't believe you. It's like
Yo,
I fucking love saying that shit. Some guy got so fucking pissed at me.
I fucking love that shit, dude.
Or like
There'd be so
yeah, like I don't fucking buy this. Like whatever's you're doing right now, like I don't fucking buy it.
I would do that in soul play. Like, as my role as a director, it would be like, you're saying this thing right now. I was like, we're doing the soul play right now. You're embodying this character, and you just said this thing, and I don't believe you.
I don't fucking
Like more.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
People are. It's valuable feedback. People are not always ready for it.
Yeah.
So it goes. All right. The shared field. I like you guys a lot. I'm enjoying this conversation. Those are the first things that are up for me. I'm excited. I feel like we've been able to consistently kind of stay on topics that we're all like jazzed about, and I'm just excited about continuing to do that, to flow like that. Some stuff.
Yeah. Looking at the screen for a moment, just I'm feeling like one thing that has felt unacknowledged to me. Hi. My cat is unacknowledged and quite peeved about it. But no, like I feel like I'm much more like much less flowy and much less like up here energetically. I've just got a much more like kind of thing. going on. And yeah, I don't know. Sometimes, like a few years ago, I probably would have felt bad about that. Now it's just kind of registering as like a thing I used to would have felt bad about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It is also morning for I mean, evening for you and morning for us, right? So there's also just like a straight
true.
up circadian
Yeah,
difference.
it's dark outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I'm full of morning and morning is when the testosterone is highest.
There we go.
I guess for me, I want to acknowledge that I don't feel like I have given you both of you the respect you deserve, or at least in my internal. I have this thing about like I don't know if y'all have ever noticed this ambivalence I have about like the areas of Twitter we're in, where I'm like, do
Yeah,
I fuck with
Mm,
this? Do I not fuck with
I
this?
have
Like, I
noticed.
don't
yeah.
know.
I have noticed that, yeah.
But like, both of y'all are both doing like your fucking thing. And I think I get fucked up thinking everybody's thing should look like my thing.
Mm.
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 I don't know.
I kind of
Get
want to
very
follow that.
yeah.
You want some
This is coming up
coaching?
yesterday in a
You
couple
want some
places.
coaching about this?
Where was this coming up yesterday for you?
I don't know. There was some thread talking about some of Visa's friendly, ambitious nerd stuff,
Oh, I saw that.
and yeah, I just like felt the need to clarify a point for me of like the thing I like about his work is not friendly, ambitious nerd and spreading that more. It's just that that is very clearly like who and what he is, and he has owned that, stepped into that, and like operationalized it essentially.
Mm.
And like I, there, yeah, because there was just some other people going like, oh, it's all fine for him, but his message to everyone else is just like, sucks to be you. You can't be like me. And I'm like, that's such a weird message to take from this because like the inspiring point about things like this is very much watching people step into who they are
Mm.
and then using that as like an invitation to step more into who you are and to like really fucking go for it.
Yeah.
And that always has to like exist. Yeah, that's always in tension with some version of inside each of us. There's a reflex to be like, all right, these other people are fine, but they're all basically a failed version of me. Like they're not quite doing the right thing because I'm doing the
Oh,
right thing, right?
oh.
And yeah, I don't know. That feels important to me because all the people I love the most, yeah, I'm just gonna let
That's
that
great.
rip.
Oh, I felt that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Finish your
Yeah,
point.
it's very no, just all the people I love the most, like Carl Jung, Burbea, James Hillman. It's all the same thing where you can see who they are as a person
Mm.
and what their work is that they're putting out, and you can see how fucking perfectly those match.
Mm.
And yeah, I never see that as like become Burbea. I have to follow Burbea's path and be him. No, it's just like, oh, that's what a person shaped like him, the type of work that comes out of a person shaped like that, a life shaped like that.
Mm.
Triangulating that back to me, what comes forth from me? What am I here to be doing? And
Mm.
letting that unfold.
Mm.
And yeah, that just, I don't know. That feels very alive to me to like orient towards these days. Which also just want to dive back and like, much respect to you and your work, Anansi. I love seeing you out here doing your
Absolutely.
shit. Like,
Yeah.
very inspiring energy of a dude who is very clearly stepping very fully into exactly what the fuck he needs to be doing here.
Yeah. Co-signed it.
Thank
Yeah.
you. I mean, both of you too. That's something I'd like to be better. I guess it's just like you named it so perfectly. Why? Because like I never leave the scene, and I just keep like I don't know what to say about the topic. I don't know. You just nailed it. It's just like I aspire to be better at acknowledging everybody stepping into who they need to be and not feeling like, oh no, everybody needs to be an artist, chasing the flow and serving God. Like, what kind of dumbass shit is that?
And just to be very clear and fair here, like this thing from me comes very much out of me being the opposite of that most of my life, and finally just like getting fed up with myself of like, I can't, it's exhausting to be better than
Same.
everyone all the time. I gotta stop being better than everyone by creating that in myself, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it cuts off the love. It cuts off
Oh
connection.
yeah.
It cuts off all that shit. It's like, what's the
Yeah.
fun in that? What's the point in that? I don't. Maybe it did serve a purpose. What purposes? I don't know. Specialness. Who knows?
I'm curious. Do you know your Enneagram type?
The last time I took it was a few years ago, and I think, type 7, the enthusiast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like the specialness thing is classic 4.
Yeah.
And I'm a 4.
I don't want to judge people anymore for like. I've been on like kind of a high horse lately. Like I've been creating all this stuff. Like I'm just finally just like creating everything I just want to create.
Mm.
And I notice there's a part of me that's judging people like, oh, you just sit here talking about shit and just thinking about shit, you little pussy, you little bitch. And I can own that part of myself,
But
but
you
also
love
like
pussy and bitches, dude.
it's true. I do. Yeah.
No, I definitely feel that. It's the word that's coming up is lonelyfying, where when I felt really like, yeah, staying on a high horse away from people, it felt very lonely to me, and feels whenever like that comes back up. Yeah, you said it. It cuts you off. Yeah.
I had this moment yesterday, like again, like ever since I created a couple like that coding yesterday, and like I've just been feeling this sense of wholeness, and like I guess I'm taking a lot of attention. That's fine right now. I'm a performer. Fuck it. Like before, like yesterday, I was so like worried about going to Vibe Camp. I was like, why am I doing this? Do I need to fucking do this? Like it was just like I was just like, I'm not gonna get along with nobody. I'm not gonna have any fun. And then like yesterday, like in the wake of like creating these things that have been so important to me for like decades, and just like something inside of me just settled the fuck down. And like yesterday, I was just like, I could totally go to Vibe Camp and have a good time. I just like embrace some girls, say some flirty shit, do some drugs with friends, like wander around, maybe not talk to anyone. It's just like it doesn't have to be that deep. And it's like, okay, here's where I'd like to take the discussion. A big thing for me, I think, has been this move from chasing embodying divinity, and I've been feeling myself move towards like humanity. I don't know what comes up around that for y'all.
Whole bunch of shit. The short version coming down to, yeah, just literally the word you used there, embodying. Like I started off on Twitter talking a shit ton about like the imaginal and dream space and all this stuff, and then moved into somatics because that was a backtrack that needed to be done. But that trajectory says a lot to me of like, yeah, there's a ton like out there, up there, in there, around, like that wants to be coming through into the world, that wants to. I mean, yeah, what we were talking about earlier. What is wanting to come in here? What is wanting to come to you? And it's one thing to like, journey and do drugs and do dream work and imaginal stuff and like find it out there. Oh my God, I'm talking to a spirit bison. Oh, can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got spirit bison.
Okay. My mic just changed. But yeah, and it's one thing to have all of that going on, but it's another thing too. Yeah, bring it down to that human level of like, okay, what is actually happening here in my life, in my emotions, in my body? did that fucking bison do anything, or was
Yeah,
it
yeah,
just
yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
cool inner movie going on?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
And yeah, that's the main thing. That like current moving into what is actually here. Yeah.
Mm.
For me, humanity has been embracing like not needing everything to be some, I don't know, I guess it's been like 12, 13 years now, like all this intense seeking and like
Mm.
untangling and stuff. And for me, like humanity lately has been looking like fucking talking, rambling about anime and Star Wars, and like
Mm.
looking forward to doing some drugs this weekend and having like some cool experience, or like just connecting with someone over some simple stuff like the weather, or like
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, like bringing all this stuff down, and now it's just like, all right, I brought all this stuff down now, like
Yeah.
be here in the world. Like I guess I don't have anything deeper to say. It's just the desire to be a human. I don't need to be a god or be one with God. It's just like, let's be a human and have a cup of coffee
Yeah.
and like a pastry and like watch John Wick again.
Yeah.
Ah,
There's a big, yeah. I don't know. It feels like a shame to me around the. I really like that phrase you used a couple minutes ago. Just the it ain't that deep. Like I feel like that has taken on a lot of. Every time I see it used, it's generally with like a very condescending energy. It's like it ain't that deep. Like stop overthinking. Stop doing the shit. When I think there's a lot of potential for that phrase to be like an incredibly kind pointer towards things of just yeah that lived simplicity of hey, it ain't that deep, man. Let it go. Sit here, have your coffee. That's a good coffee, right?
It was really good.
Yeah, it ain't that deep. And yeah, I do think it's just shame that that has become like kind of a condescending catchphrase in a lot of places. I'd love it to just be like a kind embodied thing.
yeah.
Where are you at with your humanity, QC?
There's something for me here. I have a bunch of thoughts. There's one phrase I really like that I haven't used much on Twitter, but this thing about like having full range of motion as a person, like being able to move in all of the ways that a person can move, like to feel all the things that a person can feel. And like I want badly for myself and other people to have like full range of motion in like the divine and spiritual direction, to be able to move in all of those ways and to have that same full range of motion in like the human direction, or what we call it, just to have all of that, just to have it all be there instead of being stuck in one place. Like I don't, it's no fun being stuck. It's fun being able to like flow wherever is being called for, and to just be like, yeah, sometimes I'm gonna go on a fucking crazy trip and like speak in tongues or whatever and feel close to God, and sometimes I'm gonna fucking like just be like, this girl is very pretty. Just some normal high school shit. It's like, yeah, it's very pretty.
Take a really good poop. Take a picture
Exactly.
of it and show your
Sometimes I'm
friends.
like, sometimes I'm just like, this poop was very fucking satisfying, and I'm gonna tweet about it.
Yeah, that range of motion thing sounds good to me. I don't know, I really enjoy like the root meaning of the word deranged, like literally outside of a particular range. There is a range that you're supposed to be in, and you are deranged. You are out of it.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, like just expand that range. Get deranged, man. Full freedom of movement.
Yeah. And it's surprisingly literal, right? Like for me, freeing myself up like emotionally has gone hand in hand with literally having more physical range of motion, like having less tension in my fucking shoulders and shit. Like it's a shockingly literal metaphor a lot of the time. And like allowing myself to move in ways, like there are people who won't allow themselves to move in ways that are like too feminine or too sexy or whatever. It's like there's a lot of deep shit in like which ways you do and don't allow yourself to move physically. So that's all fucking
Yeah. One of my favorite conversations I've had this past week or so was with Embryosophy Booty
Oh
on
yeah,
Twitter.
hell yeah.
And yeah, it was just on her Twitter bio, the free your ass and your mind will follow. Yeah, man. Just move.
It's fitting that like dance was such a game changer in my life because like that was I think that was when I started to develop a lot more like of that range of motion that QC describes. Like I started going to all these dance parties in New York, one of which I'm pretty sure me and Booty were both going to at the same time, called the Get Down. And like yeah, it was like they taught us how to like twerk and shit. And it was just like it's like, oh, I can be a dude and I can twerk. Oh, cool. It's like I don't have to fucking like play this like super fucking like hard masculine role. It's like, oh, like sometimes I can fucking just like let go and like, yeah, free my ass.
Free my yeah.
Shake this shit. I bet River twerks like a motherfucker.
It is, yeah, yeah. No, side related, but there's a whole thing with dance for me where like dance does not come naturally is not like a major thing for me. I grew up in the woods with like bonfires and shit. So like what it sounds like a lot of folks get out of just like learning to move and dance and get some flow going. For me is like, oh no, I need to be like leaping and screaming around a bonfire.
Hell yeah.
That's great
and
too.
that's just the zone for me.
Yeah,
I don't
that's
know, it feels like my Viking ancestors moving through me.
that's dancing. I call that dancing.
But not so much when this is a larger quibble with a lot of the like new agey whatever stuff. There's a lot of like implication that feels like around, yeah, I don't know, just ways dance needs to be. They just got to be like flowy and movement and smooth. And I'm like, no, I'm gonna scream and pound the ground and then like leap over the fire. They're like, okay, but we're kind of doing more of like this is more of a vibe circle thing that we're trying to do. It's like, all right, cool. Then I don't need to be here.
Hell yeah, dude.
That's it. That is the energy.
Yeah.
But that itself feels like a range of motion thing to me. It's like people not letting themselves be like savage or something. Like that's a whole other energy, and I fucking love it.
Yes.
Fucking love the
It was so nice in Berlin. No one was at Medley on Sundays, like Sunday mornings, and I was apparently the only human in Berlin awake at like 8 a.m. because they just don't do that. But yeah, Sunday mornings I would head into Medley and yeah, just do like savage, like pounding the fucking mats and leaping, jumping around, throwing shit. I'm like,
oh yeah,
yeah, this is nice. I can work with this.
Yeah. Bro.
And then it comes week time again and it's back to the little dance pomodoros.
I have a video somewhere on my Twitter of me being at like fucking Medley one morning, and I was just blasting some fucking crazy like stoner rock, just like rocking the fuck out, like just throwing myself on the beanbags and stuff, and like.
You listen to Banks, you know Banks.
I do know Banks. She is.
I would throw her on a lot. There's a lot of just like the rhythm in a lot of her songs is very like, okay, I'm gonna move to this or
Energy of savagery. I'm thinking a lot about that right now.
yeah.
When I didn't really get to go to like mosh pits or anything until I was like well into my 20s, like mid late 20s. I never really got to like mosh or like go to punk shows. And I started going to this thing called Afro Punk in New York. And one time I went and there was just mosh pit just happening with one of my favorite rappers. And I just threw myself into it. I like almost lost a shoe. Like I was just throwing myself into these fucking black men like twice my size. And it felt so good. It was just like just raging the fuck out. I don't even have a point. I just remember it just felt good.
No. You just reminded me that I had like a 7-year moshing period of my life where it was just like shows every month or so, just going and screaming my fucking heart out and bashing myself against people. no one was mostly bigger than me. It was mostly just me bashing against tiny people. You know, that has its own. You know, that's probably also a part of why my movement patterns tend towards, okay, just throw yourself everywhere, man.
You are an unstoppable object, so you might as well.
Essentially, yeah. I feel like all of it was training me for New Year's Eve 2016 in Vietnam. It was the most like in a crowd I've ever been. And I was literally like, everyone else was here on me. Like I just stuck out way above the thing. But it was all of my mosh pit training that taught me how to not get like crushed. Like we were in stampede danger zone. And I was just like, okay, I can anchor myself here and like control the people around me to like anchor this section of the crowd. Like, thank you, Law Dispute, for teaching me how to not die in a mosh pit. Probably saved a half dozen Vietnamese people's lives.
So I have never been in a mosh pit, sadly. But the memory that's coming up for me is like when I was when I was 13, like middle school, high school, I got super into like rap for quite a while. I was listening to like Eminem and D12 and Tupac. But I think Eminem was the one I kept coming back to. And in retrospect, it's because he was the angriest motherfucker. Like there was something about his fucking like fucking like his fuck just his something about his fury. I think fury is a good word for it. That I just really vibe with us. Like, fuck yeah, this guy fucking he speaks for me. It's some fucking good ass way. And the first conversation Anansi and I had in the fucking car when we were driving just to a place after Vibe Camp was like, I don't remember how we got started on this, but I started rapping the beginning of Words of Weapons. My words are weapons. I choose to cut my points. These words are weapons. I never show no emotion. And Anansi was like, holy fucking shit, dude. Like, where did that fucking energy come from? And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I had that. Like, I forgot that was in me this whole fucking time. That's what's coming up. Just like that driving hard energy that Eminem has.
Yeah.
You see, you need to listen to Run the Jewels.
Just some what?
Run the Jewels sometime. You should check that out.
Run the Jewels.
Right. Yeah.
Sounds good. That's pretty good.
What are you gonna say, bro?
Oh no, just that I should probably go back and listen to my mosh pit shit. Like there's probably emotions locked away in there. Yeah. I remember my favorite Law Dispute album. I realized at some point he like sounded incredibly angry and used the word fear like 30 times in that album. There's probably a lot of fear and anger locked in there for me.
Yeah. I was saying on Twitter the other day, I was like, old QC was all about that inner child work, and new QC is on the inner teenager work right now. That's where I feel like I'm at. Like, and there's just so much stuff there. Like, there's so much richness locked in like teenager energy. There's so much like fucking sex and anger and creativity like locked in teenager energy, I think. And I'm just like, I'm gonna get it all back. Get it all back.
I feel like there's a vast amount of energy I need to reclaim from like two specific women in my teenage years. I'm gonna get it back. I'll get it back. Fuck you, Brittany. I'm taking that shit. Brittany. It was really weird. I was having a conversation with I forget who, but yeah, we both kind of realized at the same time that like, oh, there's this thing that like we carry inside of us and have for decades that is still like locked in our body and posture and the way we hold ourselves that is literally just like something a 15-year-old girl said to us a while ago. And like it seemed like the whole fucking world because I was a 15-year-old boy.
Exactly.
But now looking back at it and just like in context, I'm like, right, that's like some sentence from a 15-year-old girl in what, 2008 or something, like has been stuck in the way that I hold my shoulders ever since I was high school. Huh. That seems fucked up.
Oh.
Damn.
You got one, Anansi?
I'm thinking that's
Someone
something
still
worth
stuck in
looking
your
at.
shoulders.
I don't know if it's still alive, but one thing that was alive that I faced like maybe a few months ago was this like I had this thing happening when I was much younger where like girls would get like aggressively obsessed with me and it would just terrify me.
Oh,
I will never forget this like when I was in like first grade or something. This girl was like crazy about me.
wow.
And I was just like a little like it's like, oh shit. It's like, I know that had an influence on me for a while. I think I'm good now. But I'm just wondering how many more like little landmines are left like that.
Hmm. Always one more, it seems like.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. There's some shit. I think I've had to go through a lot of like grief and heartbreak shit, which is like for like basically every person, every girl I've ever dated. And I feel I don't know about complete, but I'm like, okay, there's enough of that for now. But there's some other fucking shit though. There's like the first girl I ever said I love you to, who I was fucking crazy about. Like we never had sex, and then she after we broke up, she dated a white guy, and I know that she had sex with that guy. And like that specific karmic pattern of me falling for a girl who does not have sex with me but has sex with white guys has been repeating constantly. And I'm like, I gotta do something about this at some point because it's getting absurd. Like, I don't know what to do with that yet. That's like some existential kink shit or something that I gotta
That's
figure out.
actually
It's like
interesting to me
thorny
on a
as
side.
fuck.
Yeah. It does seem like there's like a lot of these patterns in life where like on the one hand they seem psychological and we keep like repeating them because they're like stuck in our mind. But in another way they like involve the outer world that also seems in ways like okay, like the world is also just my mind and like this
Yeah.
can't be just a purely psychological phenomenon because it keeps happening out there to me again
Yeah.
and again. And it doesn't make sense how I would keep attracting that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
In
was
a
thinking
very
about that.
different area, that's been happening to me a lot lately.
I was thinking about that this morning. I'm like starting to be almost pretty certain that like the way I don't know if it's either something I'm stuck in or something the universe just wants me to accept is that like I have to wait for girls I like to approach me because if I approach a woman who I'm attracted to who's mutually attracted to me, it doesn't work out. But if
Really?
they come to me first, shit goes down.
Mm.
And it's
Huh.
usually a witch. It's like
Huh.
it's like I have to wait for witches to approach me.
Huh. Right.
That's not a bad life, honestly.
That's pretty
Wait
good.
for
Yeah.
witches to approach
It's
you.
pretty great every time. And every time it happens, it's
As
really
far as it
awesome.
goes, yeah.
There you go. All right.
It's like I'm
Another
not
thing
that
I'm
patient.
noticing, a thing I'm noticing in the field from earlier and here is like, I don't know, I don't have like as much women stuff going on. Largely because, like, as you're saying that, I'm noticing I have terrible dating advice to give anyone. Like, I cannot take place in dating discourse at all. Because my entire life, my whole strategy has been just like, notice someone, I like them, I want them to be mine. And then about 2 months later, they are, and like, I don't know how it happened. It just always does.
I've read a lot of your stories and they bring up feelings.
That's just how it goes.
I read
So
some
if
story
that
about
ever,
you or the girl on a train in Korea or something.
oh yeah, yeah,
I hate you.
literally just like I fucked each other on the platform and then made out in the car for a while and then went away and it was fine. But But yeah, like I have no strategy, I have no game. I have just my whole life gotten whatever I want. And I just will it so. So the second that goes away, I'm fucked eternally. But like I don't have a lot of like angst about women.
I think you handled that in some past life. It feels like you just handled that. Like,
yes.
Right? There was one life that was real bad about 4 back, and now we cool. We cool.
yeah, Gucci.
I mean, the question for me is for sure like, what if this is literally still happening because I am still willing it to happen? That's my question. I'm like,
That's the EK
Yeah.
central
That's the EK
idea.
question. It's like,
Having is evidence of wanting.
Yeah.
what's up with this?
I've been running into that with money like all the time. I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah, like there's no way that like purely through psychological me putting out in the like these situations keep happening to me. Yeah, one specific is just that like I'm basically always at subsistence level. Like I always have what I need and nothing more. And it's gotten to like an absurd point where, like I've been having some medical troubles the past couple weeks and had to do a ton of testing, see like 4 different specialists, get medication, all this shit. And I got like a significant bump in sales on a thing. And then it went back down and it like covered all of that shit. So I was like, oh God, I'm going to be in the hole. I'm totally screwed. And then it just covered all of it and we're good. And then keep going. And I'm like, there's something going on here.
Yeah.
Like,
that's pretty
again,
suspect.
actually subsistence and we're good. And I'm like,
That
I'm doing this
super
and
hard.
I don't know how and I don't
This is
like
literally
it.
like the first example in existential games. So like,
Yeah.
yeah, dude.
I've been having this experience for the past couple of months of being like, just like, I have nothing. But like, I keep eating. Like, I was compelled to join this space and they have a super cheap membership for like people, artists and low income people, which I happen to be both. And like, I always just end up having like free food here, or it's like something just enough will come to me. And like, or like, I'll just always end up with a place to stay, or I just always like, I always have just enough to keep doing what I need to be doing. And it reached a point where I was just like, okay, this is like related to what Hakati told me after she bit me, where it's just like, I was just like, you want me to experience a lot of pain, don't you? And she's like, yeah. And it's just like, the thing I've been embracing lately has just been like, there are just experiences our soul just needs or wants to have. And like, I've reached peace about like my soul just being like, we need to have this experience of being a broke ass dependent artist who just depends on the kindness of others. And like, and I think it's breaking. I don't know. I don't know. I'm actually kind of happy right now for the first time in like weeks. It's just weird. Like, yeah.
That frame is interesting. But just like, yeah, your soul needs this particular experience. So I've had like multiple periods where I'm, living in Vietnam, getting by on like, literally I had a budget of $5 a day at one point, and that included like a place to sleep and stuff. And I remember one day I didn't eat because there was a hungry cat in the road. So I went and bought it some deli meat to go feed the cat. And then the cat didn't even want it. He like sniffed the deli meat, walked away, and I was like, well, I don't want this shit. But now like but yeah, like that is apparently an experience my soul needs, because I've had multiple periods where I'm going through a couple few dollars a day, and I happen to be in a country where it is feasible to live on $5 a day and find like a bed. And Vietnamese street buffets are a miracle. You can get like 500 calories, not 500. You can get like 2,000 calories for like $1. Just have them keep pouring on peanuts and beef and pork and shit. And
oh hell yeah.
Yeah,
that sounds nice.
Yeah, keep over and over again making this happen to myself somehow.
I think the challenge is this, like, my experience, my perception is the game is like, I'm gonna use my word. I think God is always trying to teach me grace, and it's just like, this is the experience I need to have to become more graceful. Like, no other experience would like require me to like surrender this much of myself. Like, nothing else would be this challenging. It was just like,
Yeah. And what's coming up for both of us really is like, yeah, there's money troubles, but also like, would you trade your situation with other people? Like, I'm living on
no,
shit that I love. Like, I'm living doing stuff that I love for work. Like, in a place that's real, like I can see mountains from my window and I'm doing what I want. I'm not in an office. I don't have to wear like a uniform to work or anything.
Yeah.
I'm thriving. I'm doing great. It's just I'm exactly thriving. But yeah, there's not zero upside to this path.
yeah.
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 There's a
And I
lot of
joke,
grace and just like, mhm.
and I just joke a lot about like when I do have lots of money again, I'm gonna be so chill about it. We're gonna like enjoy it
Mm,
so thoroughly.
mm. That's interesting. That's when I'm actually like, I've got a chicken and egg thing going on that where I'm like literally trying to do more like inner work on figuring out what is having money even like, and then maybe reverse engineering from there to like, okay, this is how people exist having money.
Yeah.
And then maybe that'll move something. It's like, okay, cool. Now I've got some.
I'm in the unique position where I have had a lot of money. Like when I was working as a software
Uh,
engineer until I was 30. And then all that shit fell apart. And then it was just like I just went like I went from like zero to like 60K to like 120K, like in just a quick few year period. Developed a whole bunch of terrible habits. Just awful eating habits, just awful spending habits.
ooh.
But still like I was still good with my money. I was still like saving money and stuff, but like all those habits that then like I lost it. Like I reached this zenith of like money and like being able to just kind of do whatever I wanted. I wasn't making so much where I was just like, I'm on top of the world, but it was just like I had like enough money to live well in New York City. And then all
Yeah, it's
that
not
fell
nothing.
apart.
Mm.
And then I was
Mm-hmm.
like immediately, then I was worse off than I'd ever been in my life before.
Ooh.
Shit.
So I've had this like, I'm being taught things.
Yeah, it's interesting. My entire 20s were spent like earning 3 or 4 times more money than I needed, which like my highest earning year was like 30,000 a year or something. But in Vietnam, that's like vast riches.
Yeah.
But then taking all of it and just throwing it into an endless money fire on the other side of the ocean, my
Oh,
student loans, essentially.
shit.
And yeah, so that was like a very interesting in between of like, I'm rich for Vietnam. And also, I can't use any of this money. Get rid of all of it. Set it all up.
Ah, shit.
Did you pay off your student loans?
Yeah, I finished those off by the time I was like 28 or something. So that
Nice.
Vietnam paid off. I was the earliest person I knew to be done with my loan.
Hey, not bad.
Yeah.
This reminds me of like Tashin was talking about this on the timeline recently. This like being supported through Patreon and generosity and Dana.
Mm,
There is a kind of like this is actually part of what I felt like I kind of got out of uh the medium dose of acid thread where I was like reflecting on money.
right.
And I said this sense of like, oh yeah, like money just flows towards people. Like there's a I really don't have good words for this anymore, but like I mean I could take Tashin as an example. Like money just flows towards Tashin because people like want to do it. They just like wants to support him. They see his work and they're like, this is a good fucking guy doing good work and I want to support him. And money just flows towards him as necessary as part of that. Like it's all kind of like the fucking the network kind of just ensures that he has enough. And that's a very different experience from like I know people who are like working, you know, high powered finance jobs or whatever, who don't have any idea of like what they would do if they lost their jobs or something. They're just like, oh, if I lost my jobs, I'd be like, they just don't know what the plan is. And there's some way in which like I don't know if they're in touch with like what the real constraints are or something. I really don't have good words for any of this, but there's just something about the way that money flows, the way that money is like part of energetic and emotional flows that I feel like I've like just barely started trying to like feel into. And this way in which like people just find money. It just happens to them for this kind of, I don't know, karmic reasons or whatever. It's all, everything is much weirder than I thought it was, basically.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone just like one sentence someone said, I'll leave all the names out of this, but a couple months ago someone basically pointed at another person on Twitter and just very casually was like, "Oh yeah, I don't think they're a person who's like ever gonna have trouble making money." And it was like, I don't know, it like struck me with the force of existential revelation of like, that's true. Like, I don't know what it is, but that person, even with the weird shit they're doing, is just not a person who will ever have trouble having money flow to them. They're just always going to be, by my perspective, rich, by theirs, probably middle class. But they will just always have money flowing at them. And that just seems like a part of the construction of their life and karma and who they are.
Mm.
And yeah, that's just a thing I've been paying attention to more lately with like, yeah, it seems really weird that, I don't know, money seems to move in weird ways and certain people
Yeah.
seem to just have a thing in them that's like, what? Yeah, that'll always find me, of course. What else would it do?
Yeah.
Attuned.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
word I use for it.
Mm.
Yeah, maybe the way I want to say it is like there's an aliveness to money. Like money is alive. Like money wants things. Money is flowing. Money is flowing like water in an important way. And there's like there's a sense to the way that it flows in the world, which I don't understand. I can't quite understand.
This is a thing that always resonates in my mind. I did this extensive, like 7th month long, like ritual magic spell. And when I was living in New York, I did this. I did this just 7th month long working about creating like a life of wealth. And it promised that like one that like everything would fall into like pieces, but on the other side of it there'd be wealth. And like there would part of it, the spell was summoning like these 4 angels that would like just break everything and just rearrange everything. It worked, I think. But
Part one, everything falls apart.
part
Done.
smashed. But the main thing about that spell that stuck with me was like this dude said this thing in the book, and he was just like, wealth is the result of following one's true will.
Mm.
And that has just become this thing that is just like lodged inside of me that I just keep keeping in mind. I think that it helps me keep going. Where it's just like, if I keep creating all these things that want to be created through me, I think money is just gonna flow. And I keep getting enough to keep surviving and keep getting to the next level. Yeah, the movements of money are weird. I'd like studied finance, and like that was kind of the part of the goal. Like I used to want to be like an investment banker. And then I ended up having some just crazy money karma despite it.
Mm. Just to throw in another weird little ritual money magic story. While I was living in Vietnam, I did like just a little yeah, just Jupiter ritual essentially. Like, hey man, like I could use 50K for some shit. Like just send me 50K, we good. And the only time I have ever found money on the street in Vietnam was the next day. There was a 50,000 Vietnam dong bill outside of my house, which is like $2.50. It was like, okay, 50K, nailed it. I
Done.
and yeah, just did like some meditation on the bill with the bill, and the message that came forth very clearly was like, this is what you get for now. Like, you've got other stuff to go with. You'll get there eventually. I was like, fine, dick. You gotta be an asshole about it, Jupiter. Gee.
The thing about the gods, they kind of do have to be assholes about it.
They're one of my like main side projects that I want to be a main project at some point is I've been talking a bit about developmental mythology lately. And one of the things that has become really clear to me is that like the trickster lives at the space between myths, like along the borders of myths.
Oh
So
shit.
whenever you're close to like moving from one to the other, a whole bunch of trickster shit comes up.
Oh.
And often what it usually seems to be is like the far side of the border kind of like showing the inadequacies of your borders and the place, the current myth that you're in, and just poking fun at all their little holes and stuff. And yeah, that one seems like a light example of it, but
Yeah.
not sure how on topic that is, but
Oh,
yeah.
that's good. That's very
It's
good.
pretty on topic for
That's
me.
fucking good, man. I, I, yeah. The trickster.
Mm,
It's in the space between myths. Cool.
that's where he be.
Fucks with this. Yeah. Oh.
I do feel like having some kind of like a chaos magic or ceremonial magic background is a huge cheat code in a lot of like inner work, psychology work, all art, especially all this type of stuff. Because it just breaks down a lot of the like what we mentioned earlier around the ideal parent figure protocol, deity yoga type stuff, where a huge block around that stuff is literally just the talking to someone who isn't there or creating a
Mhm.
character to if you start out on like chaos magic forums and shit and that's your starting point, that blows away a lot of the blocks around that immediately and you're just set. I think you guys were on the thread. We were talking about Florence and the Machine on the timeline a week
Yeah.
or two
Yeah,
ago.
dude. Oh
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
god.
I went to a bookstore that day and found this. Not sure if it's mirrored for you, but Useless
Yeah, I
Magic
see
by
it.
Florence. And like literally, yeah, one of the earliest pages from her book of poetry is just this. Just straight up writing chaos magic on hotel stationery.
Nice.
Not a good book. Don't recommend it. Her she's not a very good poet,
Ah!
unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fine.
That's too bad.
Great musician. We'll let it slide.
She's got a crazy voice, man. Like fucking
Yeah.
Florence's voice. I don't even know what about it. There's just something like very full there.
Powerful. She just
You seen the music
she's not
video for Hunger?
no.
No.
Watch that after this. Like she does a lot of like spastic dance movement stuff with
Oh
that,
yeah.
especially on the line the way you move your body, baby. And she just does this weird like shit.
Yeah.
And like in that moment, I fell in love with her forever. You live inside my soul now with that weird shoulder movement, whatever the hell you just did.
She has this second album. I don't remember what the album is called right now, but like when I was going through my heavy like Florence phase, there was a song called Seven Devils. And like that shit, I don't have a point to make. It was just like a vibe, like seven devils in my coffin, like something like that. And she's one of those people who's just in touch with the divine.
Yeah. 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 She's on that shit for sure. Like this is another example of just like I was drawn to Florence in college when I would like I didn't fucking know anything about anything, but like I was still drawn to her. And there's a kind of like rightness. Like, yeah, even when I like didn't know anything about magic or spirituality or whatever, like I still felt the vibe. I still was like, oh, that there's something she has that I want. Like, look.
Yeah. It's always stunning to me how like I don't know, we just always are who we are. And even in the periods of our life when like we're the most away from that, you look back at it and there's still stuff like, oh no, I was still in there like struggling
Yeah.
to get out. I just remember from my like hardcore atheist, everything is meaningless, this is all bullshit phase. I have a journal from that phase where like the whole frontispiece of it is I did a giant like colorful flowy sketch with the words in the middle from a Rumi poem that my soul is from elsewhere and I intend to end up there. I was like,
Mm.
what did that even mean to me at the time? Like I didn't believe in shit at that point, but something still made its way through. Like, no, my soul is from elsewhere and I intend to end up there. That is a thing. no matter what I'm on about at the moment.
Mhm.
Yo, I found this note the other day going back through my Evernote, talking about like, moments where we lose who we are and go back. Like this was 2016 after I got laid off from my first dev job. I wrote this thing in this fucking note that I don't know why I didn't listen to it because I was so attached to like making it as a software developer in New York. But I wrote this fucking thing. It's like, stop fucking resisting. Listen to your body. Listen to your emotions. Listen to your thoughts. They are saying and doing the things for a fucking reason. Despite being a generally driven and determined person, you can't bring yourself to work and enjoy it. Look for a new job or something that will excite you immediately. Listen to your body and mind. They know. And it took me 5 years to actually do that.
So
Motherfucker.
I think I mentioned this the other day at some point, but like it would be so great if we could just jump into someone else's body for like a few seconds and feel what it's like in there. Because I feel like there's so much stuff like that where your body is sending you a very clear message. And to you, it might seem subtle because like it's not that far from your baseline because you've let your baseline become that. But if you just jump into someone else and you're like, oh, that whole aspect of experience is missing there. Okay, this has become much clearer to me what this is all about now.
it would be very educational. I would like this.
Even in retrospect, just reading old journals, you're just like, oh, yeah, that was happening. Right. Right. Found the song, Seven Devils. On it. I can work with this. Yeah, I'll need to listen to this one later. This book has all of her lyrics and stuff in it and is like very, I like the design. It's got a bunch of cool, weird shit going on in it. And then it gets to the like her poetry last few pages, and it's just like so disappointing. Just a bit like one of them is literally a section is called sermons, and one of them is literally just like, I stare at my phone and its light beckons me, this sucking my energy. We all just look at our phones. I'm like, come on, Florence.
Yeah, you can do better than that. Come on.
Free verse is hard. It's hard to make free verse work, I guess.
Yeah, on this like, oh, we've kind of always been who we are thread. Like, I got back to thinking about Eminem because I was reading the TV tropes page for creator breakdown, which is like when a creator gets like really fucked up, like depressed or whatever, and just like makes a thing from that place, and it's like people actually really like it a lot. And there's a whole subsection just for Eminem on that page, which is amazing. And it just talks about how like, yeah, it just goes through his whole discography and like, this is what Eminem's life was like when he made this album. This is what his life was like when he made this album. Like, this is all the shit that he was going through, and he just like put all of it into the album. And that was just cool to get that, to kind of connect the dots on that. I was like, oh yeah, he like wrote all those songs about his fucking ex-wife and shit. Like, he was really fucked up and like having a lot of feelings going on. This was like his form of like public therapy. He was like, and then I connected the dots a little more. He's like, oh shit, he was just like, he literally has a song called Cleaning Out My Closet where he's like, I'm just gonna like say all the shit that I've been holding back that's like fucking me up. And I'm like, that's what I do on Twitter. That's that same shit. Like, he's just posted and I'm just posted, and we're just like I listened to this guy when I was 13, and something about that energy is like still with me now. That was just a really cool connection with me. I also actually got to get going soon, and this feels kind of like we're close to a natural stop. So like, just putting that out there. This is about 2 hours from when we started, I think, which is what I want.
Yeah, it's like 9:20 p.m. here, so it's past my bedtime.
I know. Actually, I was thinking about that. It's like we're being better.
But if anyone has any, last remarks that they really want to, anyone want to take us home?
A year is too long between these. That's where I'll leave this. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been too long, guys.
Agreed.
I would love to talk to you guys again. Yeah, figure some shit out.
Maybe next time we're all in Europe at the same place at the same time. Even better yet.
I will be in
Get
Europe.
over here.
I'll be in Europe this summer, so let's see what happens.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely feeling called to go back.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, you guys are great, man. Thanks for coming on to my podcast or whatever.
You're welcome.
Is this gonna be like? Are you?
I'm gonna put this on
What
YouTube.
are you doing with it?
I'm gonna put this on YouTube.
Okay.
Dude. It's fine.
Nice.
I don't think you guys have. I don't think you guys have said anything. That this is fine.
Only thing I can think of is I have specifically not pointed out before the in that one circling thing where that one lady next to me did the like, are you just like projecting your closed offness? Because like I was the leader of that retreat and it feels unprofessional.
Yeah. Well, you didn't.
So maybe bleep that or just leave it. It's fucking fine. No one's gonna be watching.
You didn't name
Yeah.
them, so I think you're.
Yeah, I didn't name them, and I highly doubt the like 12 people who were in that room are going to be
I'm not
watching
gonna.
the 1 hour and 12-minute mark.
I'm not gonna process this in any way. I don't know how to do that.
Just check it.
Zoom
You're
just
good.
gives me a file and I just put it onto YouTube.
Hell yeah.
That's been working out
Get it out,
okay
man.
so far.
Just yeet it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys so much for talking to me. I had a great time. Yeah, this is great. I'm gonna